Does he really feel like he's the 7th best GM in the league to you?
I gotta pull this list back up because I do remember seeing this, and I was like, because I posted it on Facebook, and I'm not saying like people on Facebook are toxic by any means, but Pistons Facebook can be pretty toxic. If you do look at the top 10 list, obviously you have Danny Ainge number 1,
Yep.
Masai Ujiri number 2, Brian Wright 3, James Jones 4, Kevin Pritchard 5, Pat Riley 6, which I was kind of surprised by. Yeah, Troy Weaver 7, Colby Altman 8, Brad Stevens 9, and Zach Kleinman 10. I was happy that he was a top 10 GM or an executive in the NBA. But I think one thing all these GMs have in common is playoff success in their tenure. Troy doesn't have it yet, but I could understand why someone believes that he's a top 10 GM, because you have to understand, look what he took over and look what he has turned it into in a short amount of time. This is the second offseason that we've had cap space to spend, and we've been using it very wisely. And next summer we'll have even, I think, approximately $38 million going into next summer. I think he's done a really good job of clearing the cap. He's done a really good job of getting high draft picks, and he's done a good job of not overspending for a free agent. So that's where I could kind of talk myself into him being a number 7th executive in the NBA. But like, I mean, you got guys like Pat Riley above you at 6. James Jones, who's done a phenomenal job in Phoenix, turning that around. Danny Ainge, what he's doing in Utah, he's doing the same thing he did in Boston as he did in Utah. Seems like he's got like 50 draft picks. I was really surprised, though. I'll let you get to this. No Sam Presti.
I was just about to say that. No Sam Presti. Blew my mind. I don't get that. Why did they not have Sam Presti on the list? He has done a phenomenal job. So there was this article written by LibertyBallers.com. It's my first time ever reading them, and this is what they say about Troy Weaver. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but I'll read a couple. I'll read like a sentence or two. Said Troy Weaver 7th in Detroit is comically high. Killian Hayes hasn't returned value. Cade Cunningham may simply not be the top player in the draft class. Jaden Ivey and Jalen Duren are talented. Asar Thompson is a tantalizing prospect. Just throw his name with Jaden Ivey and Jalen Duren and say they're talented. I don't know why you got to use different words. There's real potential in Detroit, but their full rebuild, stacking very high lottery picks and multiple consecutive losing season, which is textbook Tank 101, could also wind up looking more like a John Wall, Bradley Beal Wizards rebuild than a Golden State Warriors. I hate that. I don't even know who this writer is. I wish I did just so I could call out his name, but I don't even want to give him the credit like that. I mean, I think if you look back just what the Pistons were doing just a couple seasons ago, what their roster was to what it is right now, you wouldn't write anything like this. You would say Troy Weaver has done a great job at rebuilding this roster, considering the fact the best player on the team, Andre Drummond, got you Brandon Knight and John Henson and I think a 2nd round pick. I mean, in probably Troy's biggest blunder as the GM of the Detroit Pistons was trading fan favorite Bruce Brown for Musa, who didn't do any. I think it was Musa that he traded him for, and who hasn't done anything. Will probably never play in the NBA again. That's the worst move he's made as a GM. And all you're talking about is like the what ifs, because these guys are in their 2nd and 3rd year in the NBA. Stupid. I'm glad Troy Weaver's number 7. I would have been happy with him at 8, 9, or 10. I think he's a top 10 GM in the NBA. I think Sam Presti should have been on the list, and that would have been it. You know, I mean, I think that I agree with some of these other names on here too, but I think Pat Riley, he should probably be number one just for finding all those undrafted prospects, but also putting an organization around them where they can grow as players and live up to the potential nobody else saw. You should be number one. Danny Ainge should be number two. But Sam Presti, in my opinion, should be number three. He hasn't won a championship yet, but how he built the original Big Three in Oklahoma City, doing it his way, and then the talented players he has on that roster right now with all the draft capital, that's a top three GM in my opinion. And then, I mean, that incredible Shai Gilgeous-Alexander trade. Like that's probably one of the greatest trades I've ever seen. And he can't even crack the top 10. I don't agree. I mean, I think it's kind of cool how Yahoo put it together, the criteria of doing it like the baseball thing. That was pretty cool, and I'm glad they rated all of it. But I just think this list it could be better. That's what I'll say. It could be better.
Yeah, I do want to give Ben Foe a shout out because he had asked, is Monte McNair on this list from the Sacramento Kings? And he's not.
No, he's not.
I would argue he's right up there with James Jones in terms of turning a team around since he's been there. I mean, trading Tyrese Halliburton, who was a lottery pick, for arguably one of the better power forwards in the game of basketball, and Domantas Sabonis right now, to me, that's an A-plus move, and that's a top executive move, in my opinion. They built a powerhouse in the Western Conference. They hired Mike Brown. They got JaVale McGee, I believe, a couple of days ago. They're a team that's going to probably have another deep Western Conference run this year. I would have Monte McNair on this list. I would feel more comfortable with Troy Weaver being a little bit towards the bottom, like around 9 and 10. And I would like to add a Monte McNair. And I'd also like to add a Sam Presti because I feel like what Sam Presti has done, he has the most draft picks out of any team for the Oklahoma City Thunder right now. He got value for Russell Westbrook, James Harden. He got value for Paul George. Like you said, that SGA trade was insane. The pick swaps that they can do with the Clippers, if you just kind of look at all the pick swaps that they have and the draft capital coming in, it's absolutely madness. It feels like a 2K trade. But to have him out of the top 10 for me, I think this is where the list isn't credible anymore. Having two of those guys off the list, I'm happy Troy made it, but in the same breath, it's just like, yeah, Troy was probably around like that 10 to 9 range for me.